Hey, what's up everyone? Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids, and in this video I want to talk to you about Season 3 of Alone on the History Channel. So History Channel reached out to us and said, hey, would you be interested in promoting and talking about our TV show? And because I like that show so much, I was super excited to partner up with them to bring this video to you. I want to start off and give you a brief description of the show in case you've never seen it before. So the concept is they take 10 participants who have some sort of background in wilderness survival training, being in the outdoors. Some people are former armed services. Some people have done a lot of outdoor training in different parts around the world. And they put these 10 people in an outdoor location by themselves with a select number of items. And then you get a satellite phone. And whenever you reach that breaking point where you're too hungry, you're too tired, you're too cold, maybe you're just feeling really lonely, you call on that satellite phone and basically tap out. The last person who's left wins $500,000. The first two seasons were on Vancouver Island up in Canada. Season 3 starts December 8th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this season is going to be hosted down in Argentina in Patagonia in a particular area called Rio de Negro. So different challenges, some of the same challenges from what was happening up in Canada, but I'm really excited to watch this. Basically my wife, we just kind of plan it in our schedule. When the show is on, you know, the kids are in bed, we're sitting down there, we're watching and doing that analysis, like I'd do that differently, or man, I can't believe they lasted through that. That was a really tough situation. So it's a lot of fun to kind of, you know, analyze, discuss, and think about what I would do differently and what I would do the same. In this video, what I want to do is show you the two first things that I think I would focus on if I was on Alone, whether it's up in Canada or down in Argentina. And those two things are about shelter and self-protection. So let's jump into that right now. In a video that I put together recently, I talked about 10 lies around survival. And one of the core things I talked about there was connected to that heart, soul, spirit, mindset. Like, do you have that fighting spirit? Are you willing to say, no matter what, I'm gonna stay alive? Well, when it comes to doing a TV show like Alone, it's pretty evident quickly that the mental side plays a huge role in people's success. So I'm thinking about being out in the woods and I'm going, all right, what do I need to keep my head in the game? So two things for me is I gotta have a home base, so a shelter, and I gotta feel like I'm relatively safe, like nothing's gonna come get me. So what I'm gonna focus on now is a quick shelter that I can put up so I've at least got a home base in case the rain comes, I can keep myself and my gear dry. And then also what's a way that I can feel safe in the woods as far as some sort of weapon to keep something away if, you know, some sort of animal or predator comes to me at night or even during the day. So let's jump into shelter construction and then we'll work on our self-defense tool. As you can see, it's cold enough that I've already put another layer on, but let's focus on the topic of shelter now. Let me remind you, this is not a long-term shelter. This is to last maybe a handful of days while I can think about, you know, construction location and what I'm gonna build for that long-term shelter. The people who won seasons 1 and 2 of Alone were there for around 2 months. So you wanna definitely have a long-term shelter and a long-term plan. But this is just to get me through those first, you know, handful of days. And so what I'm gonna do is get that shelter set up in the woods behind me here, and then we'll move on to the next topic. All right, I've moved a little deeper into the woods. The first thing you see is I've got some coverage overhead. These are hemlock trees. I'm checking overhead to make sure there's no widowmakers, which those are those big branches that could fall on you in the middle of the night and really injure you or even kill you. So it's clear overhead, but I still have some nice coverage just by the nature of what hemlock trees are. You can also see I've got a tree right here, and then another one right there. And what I'm gonna do is put a line between those two and get my tarp set up. So let's take a look at that right now. Here's a look at my ridge line on one side and then down to the other side here. And you can see I've looped it around the tree. Some people put a loop here and they just let it hang down. I prefer to get the cordage up off the ground just so I'm not stepping on it, tripping on it, or actually hurting the actual cordage. You can see I've got the tarp thrown over the line now. You can also see that it's a little bit kind of crumpled up on the edges. The tarp is wider than the distance between the two trees. No big deal. I'll organize that a little bit. I'll show you on the back side now. I'm not gonna actually stake this down. What I'm gonna do is just put some rocks or maybe a log across the back. Again, we're talking about speed just to get the whole thing set up, and then in the future, we can make other adjustments. What I've done on the backside here is I've taken a log and I've actually rolled it into the tarp. So you can see it's, you know, it's wrapped up there. It's gonna keep it nice and secure. And now I'm gonna put another log on top of that just to give some extra weight. Here's what it looks like on the backside with the two logs. You can actually see a little bit of wind coming through, and that's very secure. It's not going to go anywhere unless there is a major hurricane that comes through here. This is secure, and now let's secure the front section. Now I could just leave this front section as is, and basically I've got kind of a little flap there so that maybe it'll keep a little bit of the weather or the rain out. But what I am going to do is stake out the two corners and maybe even the center, so I have, you know, a section coming up in the back and then a small roof section in the front as well. Here's a quick look at the tarp shelter all set up, and let me show you something that's kind of funny here. So we've got one corner secured down to an old tire that I found in the woods. No matter where you go, it seems like there's the footprint of humans, and so I'm utilizing that. Since it's there, it's easy to move and adjust if I want to make it looser or tighter. And then over on the other side, I've just secured it down to a rock there. And what you'll see as I get up close is I've just looped the paracord around the rock. And the reason I did that is I certainly could cut it, but if I don't have to, I might as well leave the paracord in its longest form possible so that in the future I could cut it if I really, really had to. But at this point, I can just loop it around. That's secure, and now I've got my shelter set up. So I've got my shelter set up. That's going to get me through the night, keep the weather off me. Next for me is going to be some sort of self-defense, and that means making a spear. Found this piece of wood. It's about 5.5 feet long from end to end. It's not too rotted. It seems like it's relatively solid. I'm just going to put a point on this thing. And the idea is I can keep, maybe if some sort of larger predator or even something smaller comes into camp that I want to get out of there, now I've got some distance between me and it. I know some people say, well, you've got a knife. Yeah, but that's up close and personal. At least with this, I've now got, you know, 5 or 6 feet distance between me and whatever thing wanders into camp. Since I've got this tire here, I'm just going to use this to chop off some of the wood at the beginning, and then I'll pick it up to my hand and carve out the point. Looks like there's definitely some rot on the inside. We'll see if we can still work with this piece of wood. If not, we're going to have to replace it. So I cut through some of the rot. It seems like it's pretty solid. When you're making a spear, you want to be kind of walking that line because you don't want to make it so pointed and sharp that if you pierce something, it snaps. But obviously, if it's too dull, it can't actually even pierce. So here's what it looks like. And then let me show you the end-to-end length. I'll step back here. So the concept, once again, is that now I've got some distance if something comes into camp, and it doesn't have to be something huge. It doesn't have to be some massive predator. Even just something at night that's poking around that I don't want there. Well, now I've got something to kind of say, hey, get out of here, I mean business. And if they caught the business end of this stick, they'd probably get the sense that I didn't want them in camp. There you have it, everyone. Look into my mindset. If I was dropped off in Patagonia, first thing I'd do is get this short-term shelter set up, and then secondly, I'd make sure I had a spear in case anybody showed up in the night that I didn't want hanging out in my camp. A cool thing about Alone Season 3 is you can watch the show and enjoy that, and you can also enter to win both this, which is an Alone survival card, and also a $500 gift card to an outdoor retailer so you can buy all kinds of outdoor gear. What you need to do is click that Show More tab, head down to the description section of this video, and then you can enter daily for the entire season, and at the end of Alone Season 3, they're going to pick a winner. After every episode of Alone, if you can come back to the Everyday Tactical Vids channel, that'd be great, because I'm going to be doing a little commentary and some thoughts on the previous episode of Alone. And as the season goes on and more people start checking out, we'll have some different thoughts to offer to you about survival and their adventures in Patagonia. I've always really enjoyed watching the TV show Alone and the discussions I have with my other outdoor friends afterwards. So when the History Channel reached out to me and said, hey, do you guys want to partner up to promote the show? I was like, absolutely. Thanks for checking out this video, and remember, a lot of information about Alone Season 3 will be here at the Everyday Tactical Vids YouTube channel, so check back often. Take care.